Hello, I'm Liam Fogarty. You're watching Bay TV Liverpool. Now, you can't have a successful city without a successful city centre. And my guest today has the task of making Liverpool city centre as attractive and profitable as possible for those who live, work and indeed just play there. He is Bill Addy. Bill, you're the Chief Executive of the Liverpool Business Improvement District Company. You're very welcome. That's quite a mouthful. What is the Liverpool BID Company?
Hi Liam, thank you for having me on board this morning. Yet it is a mouthful, isn't it? Business Improvement District. And really it's what it says on the tin, a Business Improvement District. It's a defined locality within the city centre where businesses come together, and the businesses are, that all the businesses who pay business rates become our levy payers, become our members.
So are you a pressure group? Are you a do you have some executive power? How does it work?
We are actually defined by statute. So if I give you a little bit of the background about where business improvement districts came out of, business improvement districts actually started, and it can be tracked right back to a coffee bar in a district in Toronto in very early 70s, 1971, a place called Bloor Village. And Bloor Village was similar, I suppose you can call it, to County Road. County Road at the moment, we've seen some of the issues that are happening there. A suburban area whereby the local authority in Toronto put in a new subway that took all the traffic away from that district. Two of the local businessmen were sitting in a coffee bar one day saying, well, how do we actually stop that? How do we get people to come back? And they thought about working together. Initially, it was working together to see what they could do, and they went to see the mayor. And the first year, they raised $47,000 from the local businesses, and they spent that on flowers, they spent it on floral baskets, and they spent it on lights at Christmas time. And what they did was started to show that they loved the area. So much so that other businesses started to say, well, actually, that's a district that we want to come in, we want to invest in, we want to come in and move to. So that movement that started in that district in Canada, in Toronto, grew then across North America. And in 2003, the then Labour government decided that instead of levying supplementary rates, the Business Improvement District was a movement that they could use in the UK. And statute came in 2003. And the current Business Improvement District movement that we have across the UK now, with 190 Business Improvement Districts, of which we have 2, grew out of that.
So these are local businesses coming together, paying a levy, pooling their resources. Does that mean that the smallest newsagent has as much clout in your organisation as, say, a Marks and Spencer or a Next?
Every levy payer has a vote, and every 5 years, or at the beginning of a ballot, the beginning of the establishment of a bid, all of those businesses within that business improvement district, it's a clearly defined geographical zone, and I can explain a bit more about that later, but a clearly defined geographical zone. Every business has one vote, so that they can place their vote. And those businesses, so exactly right, the smallest independent on Bold Street has as much of a vote as the biggest in terms of Marks and Spencer's or a Next or a River Island or one of the big Church Street stores.
Now, there are 2 bids in the city. You're kind of responsible for both of them. Let's talk about the first one, the City Central Business Improvement District, which is, roughly speaking, the retail heart of Liverpool. When the bid was set up, there was a sense that Liverpool as a shopping centre, as a shopping destination, was on its uppers, really. How have things changed?
Well, when you think back to the days when the bid was first set up, so the first bid came into being in 2005 in Liverpool. Liverpool was a completely different place, wasn't it? The core of the retail, the heart of the retail was Church Street. If you went off Church Street onto Paradise Street, you got lost by the Holiday Inn and what was a derelict office building and the waterfront. And it was a long distance between the central retail area across to Albert Dock, and nobody really travelled that distance. And we remember where our major retail stores, John Lewis, was actually in the heart of Williamson Square. So that was 2005. Now we're in a different city. And if you go back to 2005, as you said, we were 17th, 18th in the national tables for retail. Now we're in a top 5 place. Yes, Liverpool One came into being in 2008, and retail across the city has been transformed. And we actually realised that the city is a compact zone. You can walk from the centre of Church Street to Albert Dock in 5 minutes, but also you can walk from the centre of Church Street to the Cultural Quarter, William Brown Street, St George's in 5 minutes. We are a compact city, but it's so much more attractive now.
But there are a lot of competing interests in that city, aren't there? There are people who want to set up retail businesses, but also we see quite a lot of accommodation. People want to come and actually live in the city centre. Is part of the bid's job to try and balance those things, to identify growth areas and support them, and maybe put a stop to developments which you and your members might be uncomfortable with?
Well, it's about actually realising that a city is organic, a city grows, a city changes. We know Liverpool has been in place for 800 years, and over those times it changes constantly. And there are trends moving in the city, and it's about, we in the Business Improvement District represent all of the levy payers and try and support them. We support them with animation, we support them with the environment, we support them with security, but also it's about securing and ensuring that they have the correct environment with which to operate. Because there are distinct zones within the city now. We know that Bold Street is very much independent, but there's a lot of restaurants that are opening in Bold Street. So an evening economy is transforming Bold Street. Church Street is very much still the core of retail, Church Street, and Lord Street are very much the traditional retailers. And then Williamson Square is about that transit area where we have, it's a transition between, obviously, from retail moving down to a different level of retail from Liverpool 1, more akin to a different type of shopper. And also in and around, there's more activity in Williamson Square. So there actually is, there are some cafes, but there's also some nighttime economies.
Do you find that people don't like to see their cities change, funnily enough? I mean, we all know Liverpool's, way better than it was 10 years ago in terms of attracting visitors to the centre and shoppers and so on. And yet people get quite attached to the streets that they're familiar with and the stores they shop in. Is part of your job kind of reminding people that cities are dynamic places and that change is not just to be expected but embraced?
It is, and it is recognising change and encouraging, and as you say, embracing change. One of the things that we realise, and perhaps as we get older, we all change, don't we? It's part of being alive, is actually accepting change. So it's how you manage that change, how you acknowledge that change, but how you also embrace and encourage. But in that change is also remembering traditions, remembering that there are some important things that are constant in the city. And that's the beauty of Liverpool, isn't it, as a city?
As you say, there are two business improvement districts. We had the retail-based one primarily first, and the second is the one in the commercial district, which people would recognise, I suppose, as all those bits off Dale Street and back up towards Old Hall Street. Why did that ostensibly successful part of the city need a bid company?
The commercial district grew out of the commercial district partnership, and that was the partners, the businesses in Old Hall Street particularly, who felt that a bid model was one that could actually come into being. Because first of all, you say, yeah, that area is successful, but actually there are major issues in the commercial district. There are major issues about supply of office. There are major issues about Old Hall Street in particular. 5 o'clock in the evening, it switches off and it's almost tumbleweed. So that there are issues that need to be addressed, and that the bid is one that is working, and as a model, it is felt that by the partnership, particularly in the partnership, then took it forward into a successful vote in 2011. Working together will improve the area, because working together as businesses, because remember, the bid companies, as distinct to a local authority, bid companies don't deliver statutory services. Bid companies provide additionality, and bid companies represent the private sector members. So we are private sector companies. You
mentioned the local authority. What is the relationship with Liverpool City Council? Because I know there are council people seconded to your organisation.
Yeah.
There's a bit of funding. Are you compromised in any way when you want to kind of criticise the council or point out something forcefully to the council and their officers?
We're not compromised, and in fact, a local authority has to enable, excuse me, a bid to come into place. So because of the statute, the local authority has to agree for it to happen, and Liverpool have been welcoming for that. Liverpool have provided some initial funding, and that funding is disappearing as part of the cuts. We are not immune from those cuts, and our funding goes completely from 2016. So there's no support for any of the staff, so any of our staff members. There's only 2 members of staff at the moment that are supported by the local authority. But we are, one of the things that I came on board last 18 months ago from a private sector background was to make sure that the bid company is recognised as an independent company. We act as critical friends to the City Council. Sometimes that friendship gets a bit strained. which is it should happen because we represent the businesses. So where the local authority isn't delivering correctly, then we're able to say on behalf of our businesses, because don't forget we represent 1,300 businesses across the city centre. So we have a powerful voice, we have a powerful mandate, because actually we are democratically elected. City councils don't really have, as we know, city councils are voted in by residential voters. Individuals vote for city councils, businesses vote for bids.
But we have so much more to talk about, and we'll do so after this break. Okay. Welcome back. I'm Liam Fogarty, and I'm meeting Bill Addy, Chief Executive of the Liverpool Business Improvement District Company, the Liverpool BID, which is actually two companies. Let's talk about some of the specific challenges facing the city centre of Liverpool at the moment, Bill. We're kind of coming out of a very deep recession. Retailers have had a rough time. How would you judge the state of the city economy, or at least that part of the city economy that you and your members are part of?
Well, we come at this time of year now, just coming through Christmas. And Christmas for a retailer is always that period. So it's that period from sort of mid-October through into the January sales is the most important part of the year. This year, footfall was increased year on year. That's how we measure the activity. The numbers of footfall across the city centre was higher. It was 5% higher year on year. But actually during the period of, there were some weeks in December, last 2 weeks were 22% higher year on year. And sales are marking a sort of a slight growth. And we're optimistic about retail. We're never complacent because we have, as you've said, we've come from a very poor base. We've had the recession hit the city hard. But in Liverpool, we perhaps didn't feel the impact of that because of the transformational activities of Liverpool One, really changing the city centre. So Liverpool One came and so much came with that, and as you say, that coincided with probably one of the severest recessions.
Can I talk about Christmas? Christmas is really, really important for cities to project themselves and promote themselves, and you have been to Manchester and their fantastic Christmas market, and to Birmingham and its fantastic Christmas market. Wasn't Liverpool's offer a little underwhelming?
I would say that actually Liverpool's retail offer was far better because a Christmas market is only, we said right at the beginning, didn't we, cities are long-term, cities are 800 years old. And well, here in Liverpool, we had a chart 800 years. So every year we change, we transform. The Christmas market phenomenon is a recent phenomenon. And I didn't go to Manchester this year, but I have been to previous Christmas markets. I got feedback from Manchester that actually it was very uncomfortable. That walking around the centre of Manchester was like walking along Goodison Road on a Saturday afternoon prior to the game, crowded.
But yet you do sense that it's a way of projecting Manchester, to a national market, an international market, and there are kind of benefits in that, even though actually if you're shopping there, it's quite unpleasant.
Exactly, and our job is to promote the retail. The retailers, they're the people that pay our levies. They're the people that give us the monies to spend. So that's why actually, that's what we talked earlier about the balance of the sort of the way that the city council and the bid company work alongside each other. Well, actually, our retailers said last year, we don't want a Christmas market in Church Street. We don't want a Christmas market in Lord Street because it impacted.
With respect, your retailers would say that because it's competition.
Well, it's not really competition, is it? Because they sell different products. But they said we don't want it. This year, we saw a 22% increase the weeks before Christmas. We saw retailers, some of them were actually reporting significant increase in sales because there was not a market. And lots of people said to me, isn't it great to have Church Street free and open and people able to move up and down? And actually the bid company, through people probably wonder, where do they see the bid company? Well, this Liverpool is the Liverpool bid company brand. And we supported, in fact, we actually did more than support. We funded the activities in and around Christmas. So the viewers may have seen the Snowflake Trail. That was our intervention, commissioning 6 snowflakes that went in buildings across the city centre. So families could use that Snowflake Trail to spend some free time and really enjoy themselves. And we had overwhelming numbers of people that responded to that. We also then brought Jack Frost into the city centre and the Alive After Fives. Who can forget the camels and the donkeys? Well, I certainly can't forget the donkey because I followed it. But so with the camels and the donkeys, the animation, and then also We had the longest continuous light projection on the Marks and Spencer's building over Christmas. That was funded by the bid company.
Setting Christmas to one side, barely a week goes by without an article in the papers saying, high streets are dead or dying, we're all going to buy online. Is there evidence that you're fighting a defensive battle fundamentally to get your retailers to just keep going, knowing that every year that drift to online purchasing is going to get bigger and bigger?
I think the important thing to note is that online purchasing is always here. We all buy things online, but also retailing and the retail experience is more about an experience. It's more about coming into a city, so going out and doing a social activity. And it's very important to be able to touch and feel. When you buy, I know ladies, when they're buying clothes, it's very important to be able to go and explore and see the different fashions and actually touch them. And same for us blokes. Occasionally, you know, when we do shop, not to touch, but it's the same, isn't it? You can't get that from a computer or a tablet. So and also retailers are also identifying the fact that click and collect is so important. So people can buy online but go into the retail. And of course, the city centre is more than shopping. Our city centre now is transformed into a place for independence, so there's independent shops where people can't buy those online, and also about our food offer and about the fact that it's so much more than just shopping.
Can I talk about one or two other specific developments in the city at the moment? The council is putting money into St John's Market. The owners of the shopping centre around St John's, the old precinct, nobody calls it the precinct anymore, except old-timers like me.
St John's Centre.
The St John's Centre. There's investment there. There's investment across the road in Clayton Square. How do you think they can input and improve the overall offer of the city? Because they're two, strategically important sites, notwithstanding the kind of power of Liverpool One.
Yeah. Well, within the bid company, we represent 3 major shopping centres. So we represent the St John's Centre, as you say, which is the oldest. It's the largest indoor shopping centre in Liverpool. They've just spent significant monies, £8 million probably, in terms of improving the frontage. You'll see now that Sainsbury's are going in on the front from Lime Street, and the whole of that's being enhanced. Clayton Square have just remodelled, transformed it to become large floor plates, so Class L, some Boots. And Met Quarter is also rebranding and refocusing, and we know that there's a cinema that's coming into the Met Quarter to open up the Met Quarter onto Victoria Street and to the commercial district. So they are adding significant increase in traffic into the city centre, but also significant increase in the level and the quality of the retailers. We are now perceived nationally and internationally. Forever 21 is an international North American brand that came into the UK. But they see Liverpool as one of their flagships. Do you know that the European retail managers come to Liverpool for training? It's incredible, isn't it, to know that Liverpool is now leading the way for retail. So that's why we see these people investing in Liverpool and improving the quality of the retail offer.
You mentioned the commercial district, which has its own business improvement district company. The sense with that area around Old Hall Street and Castle Street is that you have a lot of grand old Victorian and Edwardian office buildings that are no longer fit for purpose. What on earth are we going to do with them?
Well, you asked that question, but actually if you go and look in Castle Street now, you will see something like the Queen's building, the Queen's Arcade, that's being transformed by Bruntwood, and it's being transformed into a hotel with restaurants on the ground floor. You'll notice that Castle Street is transforming itself from a local office, Victorian offices. Actually, it's becoming very much a place for people to go for dining and restaurants. And there are more restaurants opening in the commercial district. But the other area...
I'm a little worried though, Bill, that these are essentially secondary service activities, hotels and places to eat and drink. But what we really want are places that will drive economic growth, actual businesses creating new business.
We want businesses opening, and we want businesses to be supported and businesses to develop. But the problem that we have with some of the Victorian office stock, we have a large supply of it. So we need to realise that actually that's not the best supplied office for modern businesses to work. And we need to transform that. So we need to look at how we change some of those floor plates, but primarily look at how we actually bring life into those buildings, and look at retail and look at residential, and then see how we can encourage bigger and better, more able to support the commercial district. So the commercial district in terms of areas like Pall Mall behind Exchange Station. Exchange Station itself transformed, but now the area behind Pall Mall is being considered for the next stage to improve the Grade A space that we have in the city.
There was talk of kind of artists and creative people moving into some of these older buildings, if only as temporary tenants. Is there much of that going on?
There is a certain amount of that activity. We know that's happened on Water Street. It's called meanwhile use, and I know our Deputy Prime Minister at the moment is leading on that, and we're actually working with them on looking at some of the buildings to how you can bring short-term use into place whilst you are then really focusing on how you deliver major investment into that and bring the inward investment. But we're looking at other areas in the city, obviously down on the waterfront. We know Prince's Dock is a key area for commercial in the city.
Very briefly, what are the bigger challenges facing your organisation and indeed Central Liverpool over the next sort of 5 to 10 years?
I think one of the biggest challenges is because we know that the City Council are suffering cuts, and those cuts are hitting frontline services. So it's where the City Council services are reducing, and the bid company needs to step into those places.
Maybe on things like cleansing?
Yeah, it's things about not about providing, not as I say right at the beginning, we are about additionality, but in terms of providing management and support and control of cleansing and looking at cleansing in a different way, that's one of the big challenges. The big challenge, of course, is now that we are as successful in the city as we are, is making sure that we don't become complacent, make sure that we actually continue to drive forward. So make sure that we as a city realise that other cities look to us now. As we used to look to cities to say, how can we take their trade? They're now looking to us.
Bill, Addy, the best of luck. Thank you for talking to me. That's all from Liam Fogarty Meets for this week. See you soon.